behind keeping the players in the tunnel. I'm not sure if it's because the owners are tied to President Trump and it's an ego thing, or if they're doing it because veterans were concerned about the respect being shown to the flag and yada yada. So, if it has to do with a veteran issue, then I support the way that they're trying to kind of curve it so that the athletes can protest and do this at the same time. So I wouldn't necessarily see it as a slap in the face in that aspect. But if this is because, this is unpatriotic and, if they're really following in that nonsense, then yeah, I think it is kind of a slap in the face, because ultimately you're just saying that you're allowed to speak freely until the president shuts it down. And where in the First Amendment doesn't say that. So let's go to another caller, though. You're on the air, caller.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
You're on the air, sir.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
fine.
Great. Well, this is Rebel Dad from Hacienda Heights, California.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good to hear from you, as always.
This is a great topic, and I'm really intrigued by what your comments are and your opinions are of it. But Ambezi, I believe she came up with a good question, wondering, not understanding fully why there's such a big deal about the attention that's being drawn to the NFL players and them taking a knee.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I wanted to point out, and first of all, before I point that out, when you were talking about other players who are professionals that have opened up schools, Andre Agassi is one.
Yes.
Jalen Rose is another.
Yes, sir.
That have opened up schools in their communities that they don't get a lot of the recognition that they probably should get for doing that.
Yes.
But in saying that, back to the narrative here, when the NFL players took a knee, well, first of all, when Colin Kaepernick, who was the first one to originally do that, he went through the proper channels of asking a military veteran how he should do this protest. Right. And that suggestion of taking a knee was something that was given to him by a veteran, a military veteran.
That's correct.
That was the first thing. So he did that correctly by finding out from them what would be the best way to do that.
Indeed.
Now, we know that in professional sports, the bottom line is money.
Right.
And when money is always the bottom line, it's a narrative that people use to manipulate things the way they would like for them to go. The biggest reason that I see that the NFL the NFL is not on board with the protest, and they try to say that the narrative is the bottom line, that people won't come to the games, that they'll lose money and things of that nature. The owners, the president, when he came out and said what he had to say about firing each and every one of them, he put the NFL in a kind of a quandary.
Right.
By doing so. This is something that those owners never wanted to have, done in the first place. But that being said, when the owners started saying that this is part of the bottom line, that it was affecting their bottom line with numbers, they really did not. What this really comes down to, and I've talked to many people, whether they're black, white, red, yellow, doesn't matter. And a lot of times, when you talk about things that are oppressing a certain people, especially in the African American community, the things that are the injustices that are going on, situations, and they don't like to talk about it because it makes them uncomfortable. I've had people tell me in the past, in those situations, well, what does that have to do with me when we talk about things like slavery and how the effects of slavery are still going on today, how we are still trying to, get over those situations to where we're on an equal footing in the community. But they really don't. They always say, well, what does that have to do with me? That's not me. Don't blame that on me. And I'm not, it's not that we are blaming them for that situation. It's just that we're letting them know we haven't caught up to an equal footing in those situations.
Right.
That being said, the narrative that was done with the NFL Network, with the NFL itself, was addressing the injustices that were being done to African American young men within the police force. Now, I'm not going to go into all the narratives that go into, whether we have communication, like Chief said. I think we need to have more communication with our police departments so that they understand and we understand, how things should be done, whether procedures need to be changed or otherwise. But that being said, anytime you use a platform that you have as an athlete that stands up against something that is uncomfortable for others, you're going to get pushed back some way or another.
Right.
Now, in this situation, the African American athlete today is a little different than the African American athlete, say, of Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's era.
White, yeah.
Indeed.
It's understood because in the 60s, they understood what the protest meant. They understood what standing up for those things were. And it wasn't really about money per se. Whereas the athletes today, sometimes they get carried away with what the monetary part of this situation is, and they don't look at the social aspect in the long run for them, not only them personally right then and there, but for their children and their children's children going forward. So I think that when she asked about, understanding what, the fuss was with them protesting, a lot of times they try to use the narrative, and that's what happened with the president. He changed the narrative to something where it would pull the heartstrings of white America by saying that they were unpatriotic by kneeling,
insulting the veterans, and yeah.
Exactly. So when you're able to change the narrative, because they, my father used to say, the person with the mic has the power.
Right.
Absolutely.
So when that being said, when the president is able to tweet out or say things like, you need to fire them, that rallies his political base to his side. Well, and then when you look at that puts pressure on these owners who are part of that political base because of their economic stature. Right. So that being said, we have to, as African American people, we have to be able to understand that sometimes you've got to sacrifice something in order to get something. And that means that you, as an athlete, yeah, you may be making millions of dollars, but you know what? You may lose a little bit of money if you, but it'll, in the long run, it's what's going to benefit you and your family and your family's family going on for generations to come. Now,
not only that, but if we're being real here, they don't really have an NFL without us. They don't really have an NBA without us. So if these players make it more of a priority to speak out, eventually somebody's going to have to wake up, because if they feel more threatened that these people will take bigger measures, then I'm sure something would have to turn around, because there is no Sunday Night Football without us.
If I can interject, I want you guys to see this too from a player's perspective. Now, the average NFL player does not have a multi-million-dollar contract.
Correct.
And Pastor C, let's put that in perspective for the audience. Pastor C is a former member of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. And so the practice squad, y'all, I didn't make the field. So, but the average player does not have a multi-million-dollar contract. And so what happened to Brother Kaepernick and what happened to Brother Reed was a statement, because it brought fear to the average player. And that's why a lot of guys will not get in agreement and take that stance, because it is their livelihood. Okay. Football, some guys don't have or make guaranteed money.
Right.
It's not like a LeBron James, who's probably worth a half a billion dollars right now. But your average player, when you look at a football contract, it's incentive based, and so they're not making $3 and $4 million after taxes and stuff like that.
Right.
They're probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're feeding not just their immediate family, but they got
everybody
friends
else.
and families, extended family. And so when you are threatened that if you do this, we're going to take away your money and you cannot live.
It's like,
so
oh no.
Exactly. So I think that they're ruling with fear. And they're making these players reconsider what they believe in. And so I do want to say that, guys, to help all of us understand the narrative, that a lot of players really don't want to get involved, although they want to get involved because they don't want their livelihood interrupted. Okay. So,
Well, let me say something about that. And first off, many thanks to Rebel Dad for calling in from.
Thanks, Rebel Dad.
Hacienda Heights.
From Hacienda Heights. I mean, that's nice. But let me ask two questions, Pastor C.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the livelihood and sacrifice, now I want to play devil's advocate for a minute because I totally get that. But look at the sacrifice that many who came before us made in order so that I could become a deputy police chief, you could have the opportunity to own a church and to play in the NFL and so forth. I mean, look at, for example, I always think about John Lewis. Now, that gentleman took a beat down. I mean, a beat down. I remember hearing from one of our fraternity brothers many years ago, Reverend Phillips, back in Baltimore. One of the things that I remember that he said was, I remember being beaten with those wet ropes and sucking in all that damn tear gas. Mm-hmm. That's sacrifice. And I look at the folks that walk to work during the Montgomery boycott and risked all kinds of things. And so I'm just wondering, is the same level of mental toughness there for sacrifice as we saw from those whose shoulders that we are standing on right now in our homes and wonderful cars and nice jobs and those types of things?
Well,
absolutely not.
I think this goes back to our millennial discussion about instant gratification, mm-hmm. because it just goes back to that principle that for whatever reason, we don't think about the future. We think about what we can have right now. And what people see right now is, right now, I have $1 million. Right now, I have enough money to feed my kids. Right now, I have enough money to feed everyone else. So if we're looking at the right now, they're not thinking of, oh, well, this is what's going to happen in the future. They're thinking about what they have right now. But I think we have another caller, so let's let this caller in.
And I would definitely respond to that question because I got so much on
Please,
that question.
yes. I want to re-go
Caller, you're
over
on
that.
the air with Ambezy, Pastor C, and the Chief. What's
Caller,
on your mind?
How you doing?
An automatic voice message system.
I guess that person doesn't want to talk to us, so maybe they'll call back.
If I can chime in on that question, though, you know what? I do want to say, Chief, that mindset of the 60s, those individuals who were, the call is back? Okay. The call is back.
Caller, let's try it again.
Is it not there?
Nope. That still don't want to talk to us.
Okay.
Okay, go back to what you were saying.
That mindset, those trailblazers, those pioneers that actually fought for what we experience today, I don't think that same mindset exists in this generation of young people that are coming up.
I agree.
Those athletes stood for something. There was a sense of agreement and solidarity. Everybody was on the same page, trying to accomplish the same thing. And right now, we have people who just want to make it. They want to get paid. They want to have money. They want to take care of their family.
Pop bottles at the club.
Yes, and people don't want to struggle anymore. I want to have the bling. I want to have the car. I want to have